Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Very happy to have you all here as we discuss a very interesting topic today in this webinar. We're going to be talking about the experiences of young women aspirants vying for elected positions in Kenya and its impact on their mental health. I am joined by a very able panelist of women aspirants, as well as a counseling psychologist and a lawyer who I will introduce shortly. I would like to first start by introducing myself and the organization that I do work with. My name is Phoebe Nzulu. I am a counseling psychologist by profession and a volunteer counselor at CRU Kenya. CRU is a feminist organization that focuses on fighting for the rights of women and also fighting for equity and equality of women in Kenya. They have 4 main areas of focus, which we consider the thematic areas of focus. These are the elimination of social, cultural discrimination and also economic discrimination. They also focus on ending all forms of violence against women and girls and ensuring universal access to SRHR. The one that is more relatable to the topic that we're going to address and the panelists that we're having today, which is the last thematic area, is the area that promotes effective participation of women and girls in leadership positions. With that, I hope you have an insight as to what CRU is. The full name being, which is an abbreviation, is Center for Rights Education and Awareness. I would like to go ahead and introduce my panelists, who are as follows. I will ask them to say hello once I do mention your name. We have with us Malasen Hamida, who is a woman aspirant, and she's vying for the MP seat in Kibera constituency, where our offices are in Kibera, Nairobi County, the year 2022. Malasen, please do say hi to our audience.
Hello, how everyone? How are you?
Fine. Thank you, Malasen. I will move ahead and introduce our other panelist, who is Richard Wafula. He's a counseling psychologist at Amani Counseling Center and Training Institute. Richard, kindly say hi to our audience.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all that have joined us this afternoon.
All right, thank you, Richard. I will go ahead and introduce our legal part of the webinar today. And we have Evelyn Apondi, who is an advocate and at CRU. She's a project counselor as well. Evelyn, kindly say hi to our audience.
Good afternoon, all of you. Thank you for joining. We hope to have a wonderful discussion.
All right, we have 2 other panelists who will be joining in later and will have the chance to introduce themselves as well. That is Beatrice Karedia and Nelly Nyambura, who are also women aspirants in this election period. We're discussing a very timely topic, and it's timely because we're in an election year. And the purpose of this webinar seeks to examine and understand the experiences and challenges that young women face in their desire for political participation. But more importantly, we will explore the way patriarchy and masculinity interfaced to marginalized young women from political inclusion. The objectives are to learn, discuss, and understand the challenges that young women do experience when they're vying for political positions. We will also be able to discuss the mental health issues they experience as well, or what they do go through as they go through the campaign process and what it all entails. We will also be able to promote advocacy and create awareness on mental health issues that may arise during the election period for the women aspirants and generally for anyone partaking in the election, the campaign period. We will also get to explore coping mechanisms and interventions and strategies that can help people when they're affected or when their mental health is not at 100. With that said, I will want to welcome Malasen Hamida. Kindly proceed. I would love if you would share with us your experience. Is this your first time that you're vying? Maybe you could give us a little backstory of yours and what you have experienced.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity and the chance to actually be part of this webinar as a panelist. I'm Malasen Hamida Twahir, aspirant, Kibra, constituency MP. And this is not the first time. And well, in part of my introduction, I'm also an environmentalist, a founder and chair of Mazingira Women Initiative. And I happen to be part of also an organization that actually deals with mental health issues called Akili Bomba in Kibra. This is not the first time that I'm vying. This is actually the second time. And God willing, if I'll get to the level that I'll be on the ballot, it will be the second time I'll be on the ballot, hopefully in during this period. Well, the experience is just the issues during it's issues of you understand the campaign and how enormous campaign usually is, and there's a lot that takes place within the campaign processes, and there's a lot that is required within the campaign processes. For instance, currently there are issues of the laws that has to be complied with, the issue of compliances here and there. Those are some of the issues that are actually part of the processes, but also contributes towards the mental health issues. There is issue of resources for the campaign. I remember during the previous time, there was challenge. I had challenges a bit for the resources, basically the financial resources, whereby somebody said that money is never enough during a campaign period. So the challenges we women face is basically on matters of finance, but we look into ways of how to utilize the little resource that is available to see that actually we keep our heads afloat within this campaign trail and this campaign period. And well, there's a lot in line with during the election. There is a process whereby with the experience is actually during the campaign period and after the campaign period too. And I'm very glad you alluded to the issues that you'll be delving on matters during this campaign period and even equally after the campaign period, whereby that is where the results and outcomes are there. And that is where somebody finds themselves in a position whereby either you're mentally fit or you're not mentally stable. And the challenges that we are facing, we acknowledge the fact that from the pandemic period to the social justice issues and now political divides, almost everyone is struggling. And now this particular period, during this campaign, whereby it is different from the previous campaigns. The campaign that I was involved in previously was actually not so much in engaging in terms of financial issues. Currently, with the COVID, as I alluded to, there are so many people who have lost jobs. There are so many unemployed people, basically even the adults as much as the youth, whereby you understand the kind of challenges that those actually accrued to it. There is issue of finance, there is expectations. There's a lot of expectations during this campaign as opposed to the previous campaigns. So basically, that is the challenges that we are actually facing currently, because there's a lot of demand whereby there is limitation within the execution and actually dealing with the demands and also dealing with a lot of expectations. So I'm glad that this particular time, I mean, I'm in a different party also, but it is part of the party that I was part of since its inception, of which I was part of the formation, not basically formation, actually bringing or introducing the party to Kibra. So that is where I am currently, and I feel it is where my aspirations will be mostly dealt with. And with politics, let us be very candid and honest with ourselves. Politics is about interest. So with my person, interest is within that party, and that is how our mental stability comes in. Because when you look at your interest, when you look at the interest of your people, and when you look at the interest of the particular time, when it is all sorted, at least mentally, somebody becomes fit, and actually decision making is done in the correct way. So this campaign, it has not commenced well, but at this level and at this particular time, we already know there is discord, there is serious political divisions, lines have already been drawn, and the challenges that we are already facing, we have very many friends who are within a different political divide. So those are some of the issues that we are facing currently. And of course, relationships will change, but what we actually try so much to uphold to is the aspect of making that communication opening communication, in the sense that we already, from the party divide and the coalition divide, we already know who is going to vote for us. And for instance, personally, myself, I already know this particular person will not vote for me because of the interest in a different political divide. So by that, we already know. But also within the political sphere, there is that aspect that there is some percentage of people who will definitely vote for us. For me personally, if I will say, let me take myself as an example, there is a particular fraction who will definitely vote for me. And there is that fraction which will never or even will not vote for me. That one we are also alive to. And there is that particular percentage that is actually floating, whereby these are the people, when well convinced, they'll get into the interest and get into the box. If we use the local issues and languages, kuwaingiza kwa box. So that particular fraction is what we are actually working for it so much, to see that we get that percentage, so that we can have a fruitful election and actually win in the process. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Malasen. Thank you for allowing us to have a glimpse of what you have been going through and experiencing. It's an even better opportunity, because you have this is not your first time, so you have prior experience through your political aspirations from before. I've picked up a few challenges that you've mentioned, and I'd like to throw them to, I'll start maybe with Richard. There are a few things that she mentioned, and I feel like all of them, they will affect her mental health, from gathering of resources, wooing voters, being in a political party where you're able to have the same vision, and to even having relationships change. Maybe, Richard, you could tell us a bit something from what you also picked up.
Thank you. And then thank you, Hamida, for your sharing. I want to, agree that political season, brings about many, diverse emotions. You have to approach it from the psychological point of view. And as a political aspirant, I want to imagine that during this period where there is expectations, as you have mentioned, there is the aspect of the finance, there's the aspect of the vision of the party, but also the vision of your people. As a female aspirant, there comes a number of challenges. And yes, this can be, distressing. This can be psychologically, distressing. And I can imagine how, you know, the journey is. Not so many years ago, this country and of course other developing countries have looked at political, you know, players being more of, you know, men and not women, and therefore there's even the aspect of you know, the stigma. There's the aspect of the stigma. You as a woman, and of course I've witnessed, I have read, I've seen a number of aspirants who are stigmatized because of their position, who are labeled because of their position, who are discriminated because of their position, and this can be very, very devastating as well. And so some of the challenges that will come or will arise as a result of this very grueling experience will be, some of the aspirants, by the way, may actually experience depression. Okay, some of these aspirants might experience anxiety. Some of these aspirants might experience high levels of stress, to an extent that then this will affect the relationships that, you know, Hamida was even talking about. Relationship not just with your political party, but even relationship at the family level, where you will, you know, sometimes face resistance. You know, why are you standing for this position? This position should be left for men and not for women, as it were in our society. And therefore, even as we journey through this session, perhaps even as we get an opportunity to hear from other people, then I think I'll focus my attention to how, therefore, do you manage or deal better with this situation psychologically, so that then it be able to support you even go through this, you know, process this journey in a more mentally fit situation, if I have to put it that way. Thank you, Phoebe.
All right, thank you so much, Richard, for your input. I'll throw this back to you again, Malasen. Richard has mentioned a couple of things that could happen, that you could experience with regard to your mental health. He talked about depression, anxiety, and high levels of stress. Is there any particular situation or period when you have experienced any of those mental health issues, or any other?
Well, within the campaign period, a lot has usually happens. For instance, the tensions. Tensions are part of the process, I would say, because during the campaign, you know, we are so many candidates, and then at times you never know what you're expecting ahead. So there's a lot of tension in particular regions, whereby a lot of things we usually do in line with making sure that, in fact, our security is guaranteed. For instance, we have people go to an area before actually we go, so that the mood of that place can also be communicated, because there are some places whereby at times it becomes a challenge to go when there is also another person who has left maybe immediately. So those are some of the issues that we actually undergo, a lot of tension. As a result of that tension, it actually comes with an underlying some stress. There's an underlying stress that is accompanied with it, because we are forced to actually change venues. So in line with planning, also there's a lot that comes in within the planning system of the campaigns, and during this process, there's a lot that comes in. So I would say there's a lot of tension. Tension is inevitable, it's there. And then with the tension, it comes some bit of stress. So those are some of the challenges, mental health challenges, that we face in day-to-day campaign. Yes.
All right, thank you so much, Hamida. You mentioned, as you talked about your experience, there's some legal issues that come up and compliance things that you have to go through. Maybe I could call upon Evelyn to help us discuss a bit on not generally the mental health aspect, but what laws and how stringent are they when it comes to such positions when you're vying for an elective position as a woman aspirant?
Yes, so thank you very much. Now, of course, the laws that do govern elections in Kenya are not necessarily stringent. They are just applied equally to all the aspirants that are there. However, women might find it difficult to comply with some of this, what has been laid down because of the fact that, as Hamida has said, sometimes they do not have the finances to take care of such things. For instance, when you want to become an MCA, there's a particular amount that you're supposed to pay to your party, probably when you're being nominated, if you're not running as an independent candidate. And sometimes it's a challenge for women to raise these funds. We know that in Kenya right now, we still have that disparity of women having access to finances. It is still prevalent. Some of them still have to depend on, their husbands or, some other person to give them monies so that they are able to vie. And this can only be done if the persons behind you, if you have a good support system and your family is supporting you and your friends are supporting you. But if you don't have that, then it's almost impossible for you to vie. The same happens when it comes to the IBC. Even when you're nominated by your party, if you're not funded, there's monies that you need to pay for you to be able to be put on the ballot paper. For instance, you're an independent candidate. You have to pay IBC for you to be able to vie. We know for the presidency, it's 1 million shillings. So if you don't have access to such funds, if your party cannot fund you or you can't fund yourself as an independent candidate, it is impossible for you to vie in such a position. The general, acts that govern the elections in Kenya, we have the Elections Act, the Election Offences Act, we have the Political Parties Act, the IBC Act, the Leadership and Integrity Act, and the Elections Campaign Finance Act. So these being acts that are in place, it is pertinent, and we are forced as women to follow these, what is laid down in these acts for you to be able to be a viable candidate before, in the general elections or any other elections that you want to participate in. Phoebe.
All right. Thank you so much, Evelyn, for your input. It's always great to have a legal mind in the house as well. I'll come back to you, Hamida. We all know that with the age we're in, there's technological advancements, and when you're vying for a position, it's no longer just posters. We have social media where you use it as well to run your campaigns, right? Now, how has your experience been as a woman aspirant with regard to social media abuse or media trolls, or how have you interacted with the social media aspect during your campaign or as you start your campaign or previously?
No, thank you so much. Okay, social media plays a big role in line with the campaigns. I've used social media so many times, and that is where I usually do my visibility at times. And most of the time, a lot that I do, I actually feed it up in the social media platforms and handles. And that is where, at least, because when you find during the social media uploads, a lot of issues currently a lot of people have access to social media, even women, whereby we usually get feedbacks on the road that I saw you on social media, you did this, you did that. So social media plays a big role, and I've used it in my previous campaign, and is what I'm using currently in this campaign too, because a lot of people are actually reached out within the social media. We have friends, in fact, even mobilization and for the resources, and actually during the fundraiser, there is an online fundraiser in the platforms, and that is what we are actually announcing on it, to see how best we can be financed and how we can build resources for these campaigns. So in line with the attacks and violence, I would say that as a politician, being in politics, sometimes you need just to develop a hard skin because there are those, the way I previously alluded to, there are those who will never support you. There is that fraction who will not support you, and that is the fraction that will actually you're likely to get attacked from those that fraction. And positivity of mind is actually the solution to all this, because when somebody insults, throws insult, at times you don't respond with insult. Sometimes somebody is seeking clarification and somebody is misinformed, or at times somebody lacks the information totally. So with the social media platform, during my normal work within the environmental sector, I usually upload on social media. So within the space, attacks is minimal, is so much minimized when the people already know what you're doing. And that is the advantage that we are facing. Despite the fact that somebody knows that he or she will not, you get somebody just saying, okay, you are in a different political divide. I support you and I pray for you, but you know where I am. So those are some of the feedbacks that we are actually receiving. But I tend to believe, for a woman who has not done anything within the community and does not have close connection with the community members, I believe just getting at that level and coming late for the campaigns, that is where a lot of trolling is done, and insult is inevitable at times. And we just have characters who will definitely just just throw insult, abuse you on social media. So those are not peculiar happenings. It happens at times, but it depends on the response. Actually, sometimes we are hacked. Several of my friends who are actually vying aspirants have their account has been hacked, and people are actually asking for financial contributions. So the realization comes late in the day. So those are some of the challenges we are facing as women in political space.
All right, thank you, Hamida. It's very true what you said, and I've picked up on a few things that you do use the social media for the positive side of it, that you can use it to influence your potential voters as well in the mobilization and fundraising. There's also the negative side, and you've put out a very good point by stating that, and I think generally in politics, it's sometimes a bit of a mudslinging game. So you need to have a thick skin, and you have experienced the trolling, and you have even had friends who have experienced the same. Now, I'll go to Richard. We do know that there's a way that social media interact with our mental health, and not including that of women aspirants. Anything you can give us or add on to that with regard to social media and its interaction with the mental health of women aspirants?
Okay, thank you. Social media is good and is also bad. Good because then, from even what we are hearing from Hamida, is that she uses this as a tool to actually campaign or reach out to her audience, and of course then that will be a very good platform, because then you're able to explain yourself, you're able to detail what you're going to do and all that, and then of course you're able to reach out to many people within a very short time. So you don't have to really physically be present to actually be able to address your audience, and therefore that makes it even more effective in a way. And of course, when social media is effectively used, then it enhances even your well-being, your mental well-being, because then the more you interact with the social media positively, then that actually serves to enhance your mental well-being. And of course, to some extent, some people, I'll give you a case scenario where I have had someone who is struggling with mental health challenge as a result of not having many followers on social media, and especially in their social handles. Okay, there are people who are in social media for different reasons. There are people who are in social media to communicate There are people who are in social media to seek attention. There are people who are in social media to just, seek followership and I mean, diverse reasons, okay? Now, where social media becomes a concern, and especially in the mental health, is because then how do you want to use the social media as an aspirant? Are you there so that then when you post something within 5 minutes, you attract, X amount of likes? Okay. And if you don't experience those likes, for example, you have posted, what you're going to do for, constituency X, where you're vying as a women aspirant, but also as a man. But in this case, let's focus on the women aspirant. And then you realize that after 2 hours, you only have 5 likes. Okay. And you're that person who expected that when you post whatever you have posted, you should be able to attract a number of likes that will confirm or affirm that either you have followership or not. So you get to realize that depending on what is your expectation to social media and how you use or interact with this social media, it can actually enhance your mental health, or it can actually be a concern in terms of your mental health. Because then if you're not getting what you're expecting from the social media and you're not able to manage your expectation, then that might result to mental health concerns, including stress, depression, and even anxiety, number one. Number two, social media being a platform where it's a public platform where you can't really control what people will say or do with whatever content you post there. You realize that, as Hamida was saying, I mean, the trolling, the mudslinging, okay? So there are people who, of course, as aspirants, they have really been disadvantaged because of the social media and because of what people are saying, tarnishing their names, okay? And this political season is very interesting, by the way, very, very interesting. I might not want to, mention names, but even before I logged into this webinar, I was reading through, I was going through something in social media where there's a politician who is attacking a certain politician in terms of their cultural, rights, talking about, if you vote for certain people who are not circumcised, then you'll be cast in this community. So you can imagine, if you are to pay attention to such information, how that information can really devastate and affect you as an aspirant. So what is mentioned and what is published, what is said in the social media can be very devastating, especially if you pay attention to that. I think one of the ways, and perhaps if I have to talk about coping with the negative, social media impact, will be that as an aspirant, you might not really want to, invest heavily in terms of your emotions in social media, because if you invest so heavily in terms of your emotion in social media, then that can really discourage some of the aspirants, and it can even make them, throw in the towel and pull out of the race because of then what is being mentioned there. So the question is therefore to our aspirants, those who are, viewing and listening to us from various quarters, is that how do they choose to use that social media? How do they manage? Their social media handles? What have they invested? I know there's the financial investment, but now from the psychological point of view is the emotional investment, which I'm concerned about. That the more you invest emotionally to that social media platform, then perhaps you might be disadvantaged because of you are not in control of what people are saying about you and about your ambitions. So then that can become very devastating if you pay so much attention to it. Thank you, Phoebe.
All right, thank you so much, Richard. I'll jump slightly in and then I'll get back to you. Is there anything that can be done? Is there protection or any law concerning social media? Is something slightly new, technologically wise and legally? Is there anything that governs and protects women aspirant from experiencing, if you've been bullied online or as an aspirant, or you've been trolled, or you've experienced any form of social media abuse? Is there anything that helps them specifically with looking at social media?
Yes, Phoebe. what has been enacted in Kenya to govern the use of computers, or just, computers and the cyberspace in general, is the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act, which was enacted in 2018. And we, as a people, generally refer to it as the Cybercrimes Act. So under this act, we do have regulations on what can happen to a person who misuses the computers or, the cyberspace for in its entirety. And therefore, if a person is aggrieved, as a woman aspirant, you feel like you've been aggrieved, or whatever Richard and Hamida have said, do apply. You can choose to ignore it. You can choose to, find someone else to manage your social media accounts and all that. But if you feel like you have been very aggrieved, and this is something that might tarnish your reputation because you're running for a public office, and the voter looks at your reputation so that they are able to vote for you. And if these are things that will harm you and harm you mentally as well, there are several avenues, that you can use to approach court and ensure that you get redress. So, of course, you can go to court through a civil, the civil process. Before we used to have the criminal process, but that is something that the High Court decided is not sustainable, and it is not legal in the way it was being handled, and that was scrapped off. That is by Justice Mativo some time back. However, the Cybercrimes Act provides under several sections, including Section 22, with things to do with libel. Libel is talking bad about someone, but in published form. It's slander is when you do it verbally. Libel is when you publish it. So publishing can be in blogging. We have the bloggers. It can be through Facebook. It can be through Instagram and, the various other social media sites that we have. And therefore, if you are found liable under these sections, under this act, what can happen to you is, of course, you can be given a fine or a jail sentence or both. And, depending on how you have, what you have written down and how you've done it, it can be to the fine not exceeding 5 million shillings, or a jail sentence not exceeding 10 years. So therefore, it goes on a case-by-case basis when the court decides, what to do, because they do have inherent jurisdiction and inherent powers to make a decision depending on what they can see. And therefore, you can also look for restraining orders under the Act. The restraining orders are given to this person who has been blogging or writing something that is untrue, to refrain from writing such untruths, or from, endearing someone else to write the untruths about yourself. And therefore, you can restrain them and other parties as you await for the court to, make orders that have judgment that is final in your matter. So, and also because we know the sensitivity of such matters, the court has been given a short time, 14 days, so that it's something that is fast-tracked. Of course, it will depend on the court's, diary, but it's something that is fast-tracked, and it shouldn't be something that takes a long time. And therefore, justice is reached sooner, and these people are able to be brought to book sooner than, even in the old criminal matters. Therefore, there are various other acts, of course, with regard to mental health. We know that the Constitution gives each and every one of us, and that includes the women aspirants, the right to access health, the highest attainable, level of health. That is under Article 43. We also have other articles, that talk about human rights, Article 27, Article 23, Article 22, that safeguard us, giving us the right to health, giving us the freedom, against discrimination and such like things. And therefore, you can still go to court for to apply for a declaration of those rights under a constitutional petition. which is
Okay,
something
allow me to catch you in. I needed to get a clarification before we move into that. We've seen that there are other forms of not just on social media abuse where it's more emotional, by maybe they publish or put out images of women that are demeaning, because we have seen it happen before where an aspirant, they're exposed through pictures that maybe they had taken. Does this still fall under liable or slander, or how would they go about dealing with such an issue if such images or private images were shared in public?
Yes, you can still, go, because it covers everything, including pictures, including wordings, because they will not just share pictures, they will share and write something. So this is covered under this act because they are misusing your image. They are misusing, something that you did in your private life, and bringing it and skewing it to their advantage. And therefore, the Cybercrimes Act still protects the women aspirants in that manner. In the event that you find that it is deficient, that the Cybercrimes Act is deficient and you're not covered, you can still go through a normal civil application under Order 7, and this is something that the court will entertain. And once you give your evidence, you will still get your orders. They are to refrain. You can still get interim orders so that you force them to remove whatever they've published of you, even in the interim, as the court decides whether it is libelous or not. And therefore, women aspirants are covered. I think one of the things that women need to do is get sensitized so that they understand what their rights are and understand how they can approach, the court to take care of themselves, so that they do not, go and get, mental health problems because of such publishings that, have been, whether in the computer, in the newspapers, or anywhere else. Yes.
All right, thank you so much, Evelyn, for your input. I'll jump back to Richard. I've been wanting to ask this question: do you think mental health has been given a priority during elections in Kenya?
Not really, not really. But again, mental health being a personal, individual experience, it first calls for that aspirant to take lead in terms of really, ensuring that he or she is actually, taking care of their mental health. However, it will be good. I mean, if we in future perhaps got to a position or a place where there's actually a structured way of supporting the aspirants in dealing with their mental health in view of what they go through on a day-to-day basis. I can tell you, Phoebe, and those who are listening this afternoon, is that the insults that these people go through, the physical harassment and to some extent sexual harassment to the female aspirants while on the campaign trail is not easy to comprehend. The conflicts from the family level to the social level, friends, the financial difficulties, just to mention but a few, in as much as some of us imagine that these people have it all. By the way, when you get to hear that someone is an aspirant, one of the assumptions that comes to people's mind is, those have it. They have the money, they have it. I mean, they are the who's, and they are that level. So, but contrary to that opinion, and I think maybe Hamida will speak to it, I don't think that an aspirant has it all. In as much as, of course, for us, when we see them standing before us, talking to us, we then make that assumption that these people must have it. I mean, these people have the emotional breakdown moments. They might not come out, in the open to actually, state it that, I'm having a mental, breakdown. But some of them, by the way, even before being an aspirant and being a human being, they could be carrying some, conditions, mental health conditions. We know of some politicians who, of course, they have come out in public to indicate that they're struggling with bipolar. Okay. This is not in secret. I can mention one of them, Rachel Shebesh, who really at some point came out and really, talked about her bipolar situation. And so for those that are even, coming into politics with some of the mental health concerns, the political environment could act as a main trigger, okay, and sometimes causing relapse and causing even the situation to be worse. And so yes, not much has been done, in my view, in my opinion, as far as taking care of the mental health of the female aspirants, but also generally just the aspirants. And I think maybe we need to lobby more. We need to advocate more that could we, even as we still continue being in the political season, because then this season will come to an end. Some of these people would win, some of these people will lose. Okay, and I'm imagining those that would lose and had an expectation that they would win. To some of them actually sink into depression. Personally, as a psychologist, I've actually supported a number of people who, during the political seasons, even in the past, they have not been able to make it or realize their dreams, and this really affected them because then they have invested heavily. They have invested heavily financially, emotionally, and even spiritually. Some people, but they have invested even very heavily spiritually. They have turned to their gods for miracles that, and when they don't make it, then they become very frustrated, even with their own, creator. I mean, for those who are Christians, they will tell you, by the way, is there a God? I mean, I've done everything. I've gone to church. I've paid tithe. I've built churches. God, why have you allowed me to lose this election? And therefore, it can be very, very devastating. And some of them, by the way, because of them experiencing that mental breakdown, they have not recovered. I mean, I don't know whether you have heard. I've heard of those people who are in a political season at some point, and because of the outcome, they have gone down and down and down the drain, and they are no longer, being heard. And this is because then of the depressive state that they got themselves into. And so, yes, as players in mental health, we need to actually advocate more. We need to lobby more for mental health support for political aspirants at whatever level. At whatever level, I sometimes sympathize, or rather empathize with these aspirants, by the way, because of what is being said, because of what is being portrayed of these people, and I know if those of us who are not in their position can feel a pinch of what is happening and what is said. What of them? What of them? The cartoons being drawn all over about how they. I mean, these are not very good times for these aspirants. But just to affirm, Hamid and the others who are to be here with us in this panel, that indeed it takes a strong mental health personality to be able to go through this, and therefore they need also to be aware as aspirants that, by the way, I'm observing this, I'm becoming more irritable, I'm losing interest in things that I used to do. What is happening with me? And I know because of what people say, it can get into you and you can become very, very angry to yourself and to others around. So yes, we need to lobby, we need to advocate for mental health support for our aspirants. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Richard. You've brought out a very important point, that mental health first is just not an issue that needs to be addressed at corporate level. It starts at the individual, and then it needs to be looked at a larger aspect of it. Hamida, I'll come back to you with this question. You've mentioned that, and Richard also brought it, that you experience emotions and you go through possible mental health issues before and after the elections as well. Now, within your political party, you do have shared visions, and is there any way that they support women aspirants within your political party that you're vying under? And you can highlight if there's anything being done by the political party that you're vying under, and also you as an individual, what steps do you take to manage the stresses, the tension that you had talked about when you're sourcing for resources, mobilizing for voters, and all that?
Well, thank you. My political party has got mechanisms for actually assisting the women aspirants, and there is a support system for the aspirants, and but unfortunately it will definitely come after the nominations, when actually one is a candidate for a particular party. So at that level, you become one of the party assets, and then the party actually assists the candidates. But the challenge comes in when as an aspirant you lose out in the nominations. That is when you find there's a lot of challenges, because it means the resources that you've actually used were only yours. And if at all there is a support from the family and friends, it becomes personal support system. But when somebody is a candidate, a lot happens, and a lot of support is usually accrued from the party level. So that is the advantage that I will have from the party. If at all I become a candidate, I'll get support, I'll be supported, and I'll have a team. Of course, I have my own campaign team, but as a candidate of a particular party, there is also support system from the party for the team. Somebody usually comes in during the campaign trail. You have party members who actually follows you around and actually assist in campaigns. And in line with the coping systems, there's a lot of, there's one thing that I actually try so much to adapt to my own care. That is, thank you to the whole mental health issues and self-care matters. That is where at least we find solace. You look for yourself and look after yourself. And that is something that is very key. Having time, special time to feed, having time for oneself, those are some of the issues, and having time for the family. Because as an aspirant, I'm also a wife and I'm also a mother. So those are some of the challenges that we are facing. And I'm also a family member. I have siblings, I have parents to look at, and also to just to enhance that relationship. So there is a lot of planning in line, emotional planning in line with who takes what and who is who within that emotional circle. And another thing is that within this political space, there is an acknowledgement of there is a chance to win, and in the likely event that somebody loses. So there has been a lot of conversation in line with that affirmation alone, that I might win or I might lose. In that, somebody becomes psychologically prepared that in the likely event I lose, what happened? So you find yourself actually thinking of the eventualities. And that is how at times it goes to another level whereby there is that thinking that, yes, I'm actually vying for this position, but by chance I lose. In the likely event that I lose, what is my plan B? And what is my plan C? So some of these issues assist a candidate and has assisted me in actually my mental wellness to the level whereby there is that realization that in case it doesn't happen where do I fall in, and how do I fall out at that particular point, and how do I connect? So with that in mind, somebody becomes prepared and somebody gets solace and goes into the campaigns with a lot of positivities, because there is a lot of planning that has taken place. So you already know and understand that in this particular thing, in this particular region, I'll campaign, yes, but there is that acceptance of I'll meet almost 100 people, but I'm not actually factoring 100% support from those people. But if I get 80%, in case I lose the 20%, those are some of the issues that we actually talk to ourselves and with the planning teams in order to actually feel that to give you that will and the will and the strength to move forward and to move on. So those are some of the issues in line with the self-care and in line with the mindset. There is a lot that Daktari has said. Indeed, there's a lot of emotional breakdowns at times, because there are plans at times that plan in a different way, and also the outcomes comes in a different way. So it requires a lot of mental wellness and positivity as well, and a team. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Hamida, for that feedback. Just to get a bit of a clarification, you did say that there's a mechanism and support, but it's only for those who win nominations and become assets to the political party. Is this kind of support you had mentioned? There's also the support where you have someone who goes along with you during the campaigns. Is this psychological or support? Is it like having a therapist, or is it just generally? Is it professional and mental health personnel who support within the political party?
Wow.
A counselor maybe.
Well, this is going to be a unique campaign period. 2022 is a unique year. This is the year whereby at least mental health issues is being discussed on the table. Than previously, it is usually post-election traumas. And after the election, people come, give their feedbacks and share. But this particular time, I believe this is going to be the best year possibly, that already we have conversations with the crew on matters mental health. So I believe we'll be working with the crew, with the members from the crew organization, to actually have the go back to them in case of distress, in case of mental breakdowns. I'll come to crew. There is a counselors. Once away, Phoebe, I'll target you. But at the party level, we've not known. But I believe the conversation now is coming through. The conversation is now on. Thanks to pandemic, it was a bad situation, but with a very positive lining, whereby now people are thinking mental health. And this indeed, as Daktari alluded to, we have lost women aspirants and candidates. People have died as a result of depression. People have actually completed taking of life. I don't want to use the word suicide. People have taken their lives as a result of actually losing. People have become mentally insane, totally, as a result of this. And I think the conversation is very timely, and I pray that it actually continues even at the party level. But I've not heard within my party system, within my political party, of which I believe it can come. And also, as a leader, I would suggest to the Secretariat that it is something that is looked into, and it will assist me, one, and it will assist other candidates who are actually taking their time and giving their own issues, resources to actually vie for our party. So it's something that I would suggest, but currently it's not there. But I would suggest to my party to see how best candidates can be assisted. Even the presidential candidates, they really need it. Yes.
All right, thank you thank you so much. And Hamida, karibu sana. In case you need psychological support, you're very welcome to crew as well, and all other women aspirants out there, we're here to support you. Now, you've brought out the fact that what I got from you is that there's no specific or professional who's assigned by the political party. So you have to individually go and source out and sort your own mental health issues by yourself. You've talked about self-care, and I'd want Richard to kindly add a few things and tell us. We talked about how the women aspirants can deal with the issue of social media and being told. How would they handle their mental health, especially after losing a political party, or even maybe because they'll experience a lot. Maybe can help them and direct them in a way that is suitable. Steps, and Hamida had mentioned one is being self-care as well. Maybe you can expand further for us.
Thank you, Phoebe. I think there are a number of ways that these aspirants, they can cope, and especially post the election period. Again, for me, mental health is unique, just like our lives are unique, and therefore, depending on also what this person is going through, they could opt for a number of things. I'll be talking about generally, but then I always not forget to mention that choose what works for you. Okay, choose what works for you. For example, having a strong support system is very key. This support system could be a person, could be people, could be a group who you can actually share your experiences during, pre, and post election. And as a result, they can be able to support you emotionally by actually allowing you to just be yourself. These are people who you want to be very free with. These are people who will want to, at any particular point, call upon to share whatever you're going through. So I'll encourage a very strong support system because, a common basic, principle of life is that a problem shared, is half solved, and the burden becomes lighter if you have people also taking up whatever the issue is. And so even the frustration, the pressure, the stress financially, but whatever is happening, if you have people who can actually be able to help you carry the burden, then that can really, really, work. But individually, seeking out for help, and especially when you know that you are actually overwhelmed, okay, it is okay. I like telling people whenever and especially my clients, that it is okay not to be okay. So the point where you realize that you're not okay because of what has happened, and I've said before that this is a very heavy investment in terms of everything: time, physical, emotions, okay? So it is okay not to be okay. And the moment you realize that you're not okay, then you make the decision to actually reach out to a therapist and be able just to process or explore what you consider as a loss. Remember, if those who will not make it to, to their, different seats that they are vying, then that would present a significant loss. A loss has a degree of change. So the changes that this loss would occasion would require support. And generally speaking, we go through loss through a stage model, according to Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. There are those that will be in denial. There are those that will be, suffering from anger. There are those that will be bargaining. There are those that will sink into depression, but there are those who will be accepting. So it's important to be aware, where am I at after all this is done? Okay, am I still in denial? And that's how you have realized that there are people who will immediately after the results are announced, they would actually run to court because they will not believe that they have lost that election, either unfairly or fairly. And of course, it is their right. But psychologically speaking, just to let the aspirants know and our listeners know that this period might occasion a loss, and in any loss, there's a degree of change depending on what you had attached to the entire process. So as an individual, reach out, reach out, reach out, reach out. That is my clarion call, so that then you don't socially withdraw and sink into depression. It's expensive being in depressive mood. So you rather prevent it by, reaching out. And of course, the other way to deal with it is to take time out and just have your you time. Okay, take time out. You're coming from a very gruesome, period of, campaign, and you just need to take a break. All of us need to take a break at some point, and especially when we are in an intense experience. So just take a time out and just go and wind, relax. If you can afford a holiday somewhere, go. I mean, shut yourself from what is happening and just go and unwind yourself. You feel much better, unlike just persisting to be in an environment where it will trigger emotions, it will trigger bad memories and trigger a lot of emotional reactions as it is. The other way of dealing with it is to find something else to preoccupy you. I mean, look at politics as not a matter of life and death. Yes, you wanted to win this seat. Yes, you had a vision for your people, but it is also okay to know that it is not a must to win. Okay, so come up with a plan B, a plan C. So what if I don't get this seat? What else? I mean, let life continue. After 9th, the 10th of August, let life continue. But life can continue if you had a plan B, that what if I don't get this seat? Then I'll go back to business, for example. I'll seek other employment. I have skills in different areas. So that's also a time to explore your skills in different areas and make a decision whether you want to go back to business, you want to go back to employment and all that. But more importantly, I mean, all this is also brought about by your levels, or rather the aspirant's level of self-awareness. That who am I? Who am I? Who am I in view of just me being an aspirant? But separate from being an aspirant, who am I? What am I? Okay. What are my, other, skills set that I can, fully utilize, actively utilize beyond just the political ambition that I had. So just having an open mind and being able to have a plan beyond the political season, and knowing that after the politics, then what next for me? I think that will really be important. So being flexible, okay? Being flexible and being open-minded, that it can go either way. It can go either way. It's like, this political ambitions is like doing, an exam. Sometimes we approach an exam very overconfident, or approaching an interview very overconfident. I'll get this job. I will get this job. So I want to really talk to our aspirants that yes, it's good to, have that positive thought that yes, I might win. But it's not a must that you win. The things we call the cognitive distortions, the shoulds, the musts of this world, that I must get, Hamida, that, allow me respectfully to use it, that I must get this Kibra seat, I must get this Kibra seat. I pray for you, Hamida, that you get this seat. But if you don't get it, I'm sure you have other things that you can do that will help you now be able to deal with your mental health in a better way, as opposed to remaining stagnant and fixed to your ambition, and it stagnates you from moving on beyond the political. And I could go on and on, but more importantly is to also just being aware what are some of the effects that this political season will have brought to you, and the necessary steps, like I've said, are individual. So I just want to encourage also those who are listening that what works for you, go for it. Go for it.
Thank you so much, Richard. You shared quite a lot, and I hope our aspirants and everyone else who's watching, they've learned a lot from that. You've talked about the most important one being acceptance of the outcome. And then from there, you have to be flexible and have a plan A, plan B, and plan C. And Hamida mentioned the same thing. There was also the aspect that Hamida brought out of self-care. Having a support system is something that you also did mention, Richard. So it's important in all aspects, especially when it comes to mental health, to have a support system. The other thing that I have heard you talk about is seeking out for professional help, as well as getting some R&R, some time to rest and to relax and to recuperate from the process that you're just coming out of. With that, I'd want to move to Evelyn. We've kept you out kidogo. I want you to help us understand. We had spoken about the steps that can be taken with regard to social media bullying or abuse. Now, when it comes to the mental health of our women aspirants, is there anything you had started talking about it? Maybe you can expand more on what you had mentioned with regard to what the law states. Is there anything that captures issues regarding mental health, not necessarily relating to the political aspect, or something that they can use and know and guide them on charting their way forward?
Right, thank you, Phoebe. Yeah, I mean, it is not, the law is not specific about women aspirants. Maybe we need to amend some of this because, the election period does come with special circumstances where the women aspirants specifically just go through. However, in Kenya, in general, we do have the Mental Health Act, which, gives all persons the right to access mental health care. So therefore, it should be known, and it should be known that mental health is not an avenue, or should not be used as an avenue for discrimination. And this is just as enshrined in the Constitution of Kenya. So the Mental Health Act in general just gives persons who suffer from mental health, be it depression, be it any other sort of mental health, the avenue to seek for medication and how they can be taken care of when they do get to, a mental institution, if need be, or, a medical doctor taking care of their mental health and all that. And therefore, when we do follow that act, we are able as women, or they're able as women aspirants, to access medicine, access therapy if need be, through the institutions that are well known for to be providing that service. And therefore, it is something that is ensured. It is something that is enshrined in the Constitution, and they're able to access it. There isn't much I can say about, their access to mental health with regard to the act. It is, it just governs the mental health providers and how they can give the provision to women and just the public in general. However, I'm going to speak about the Defamation Act. This is something that, because the mental health issues, probably the depression, if it occurs due to them being in the election process, and therefore due to maybe a person defaming them, either orally or through written publication, what can they do as women aspirants to get reparations for themselves? Apart from, of course, seeking the medical help that they need, they can also lodge a complaint in court. We are advocates. This is what this is what we do. We lodge complaints in court. So therefore, the Defamation Act, which was amended in 2012, provides under Section 4, it has the slander of women specifically. And this was an amendment that came in, sometime in 2012. This is Cap 36. And it talks about slander of women in general. So it says that where an action happens, an action of slander, with respect to women, and it's about, it imputes, that they are unchaste or something of that sort, a woman who has lodged a complaint in court does not need to prove special damages. So what then are special damages? Because they will be awarded special damages. That is a prayer that you can ask for. So what then is special damages? Special damages are, monies that are used to compensate a person, from out-of-pocket expenses. So for instance, this woman has had to go to a medical institution, has had to get medicine, has had to see a therapist or a counselor because of the condition that she finds herself in, because of someone else's, slander, maybe through print in the newspaper or whatever form it comes in. Therefore, that money that they have used, they do not need to prove it in court. They don't need to bring receipts to show that, I used X amount of monies. The court can, on its own motion, just grant this woman that money as well as the general damages. Also, one of the things that can happen if it's in a newspaper or a well-known magazine, or maybe an institutions, we have several institutions like newspapers, media houses who have social media sites. If they do print something or they write something down, or one of the presenters orally says something that is defamatory to this woman aspirant, the woman aspirant has the right to ask this media house, whoever they may be, for an apology according to the act. And it is enshrined under Section 7A, which is also, something that was introduced in 2012. And this media house should print an apology if the aspirant so wishes, in the same manner and in the same prominence that they had printed the falsehoods that they had before. Therefore, if the falsehood was on page 1 of the newspaper, your apology should also be on page 1 of the newspaper. The same space that was used should be used as before. And this does not bar these aspirants from going to court and also getting damages from the newspaper or whoever has printed this. And therefore, this is something that I think will be helpful to the women aspirants. It has targeted them specifically. And we should know that if a person is taken to court and they do not repair, or they do not, because we can have out-of-court settlements. If there's no out-of-court settlements, the court can imprison them for a period of not less than 3 years, and can also ask them to pay a fine of not less than 400,000 shillings. And therefore, defamation in any way, shape, or form is very expensive. And these are things that these people who go bad, we call them keyboard warriors. When they go behind the scenes and start typing, they should know that it's an expensive affair. And women should take this chance to take these matters in court so that they get the reparations they need. Because I know from my own layman perspective in the counseling word, I know that one of the things that you need to take care of, apart from talking to a counselor, talking to a therapist, is taking care of the problem. And what is the problem? It is the publishing. And therefore, if you have court orders ordering this person to remove this from their space or something of that sort, then it is better for your mental health. Further, I had one of the panelists, Richard, talking about sexual violence and assault and such like things. It should be known that women, can rely on, if it's a matter of sexual assault, you can rely on the Sexual Violence Act, and you can, you go to the police officers and you report the matter. They should be able to take in your evidence, and this is a case that can be ongoing even as you still vie for the seat. In terms of assault, we have the penal code, and it is very succinct in what it provides under section 251, 250 onwards. And assault specifically, for a woman, for instance, under section 251A, it says that when you insult the modesty of a person through forcible stripping, which is something that really happens to women. We have seen this the other day, though it was not politically motivated, But we know that women do undergo these things. And therefore, when a woman undergoes this such assault, they can go to the police station and this thing can be taken to court and they will be able to get, the justice that they deserve. And for such thing, the stripping, upon conviction, this person is liable to imprisonment for a term not less than 10 years. And therefore, this is something that women should know and should have in their hands and know that I can go to the police officer, to the police station rather, and get the justice that I deserve. They should not suffer in silence. It is not normal for someone to just strip you just because you're a political aspirant. Your dignity should be respected. And therefore, we should take back our dignity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Evelyn. That was some very informative feedback from you. I have equally learned a lot. I like what you say that you take care of the problem. There's no specific connection between mental health and elections and everything, but whatever happens around the election and the campaign period, and whatever it is that you experience as a person, as a woman aspirant, then that is how you are able to experience no mental health issues coming up. So once you're able to identify a problem and you know what steps you can take legally and also professionally and psychologically to help you, then I think we're helping our women aspirants a great deal. I would like to throw the question back to now, Hamida. What recommendations would you give to the aspirants, and I hope the women aspirants out there potential who are running right now and who are going to run in the future as well? What recommendations would you give them in the upcoming elections or in the future, specifically relating it to their mental health? What advice would you give?
Well, the advice that I will give potential aspirants and aspirants who are on the aspirants who are actually eyeing to buy is that let's take care of ourselves. A lot is happening, and let's develop that thick skin and be very positive and be the leaders that we would want to be, and actually be the inspiration of each and everyone who will be looking at us. And let's pray so much. Prayer also helps in these processes. And let's have a team. A team is very important for any aspirant, because it's the support system and support backing. And also you need that one person who will be there to comfort you, who will be there to criticize you, who will be there to give you the correct status of things the way they are. And above all, we are here to serve. Leadership is not a privy of a particular gender. We as women, we have led in different quotas. We've led on economic quotas, on social quotas. That means on political quotas, we cannot be left out because we are capable. And again, what I would say is that don't fear. I have realized very many women fear to get into politics because of the mudsliding and also the tag that women who are in politics have been given. Let's treat our predecessors or our colleagues in politics and who are women, let's take them personal. Let's not personal per se, let's individualize the mistakes. Let's not actually bundle the whole women fraternity to challenges that a certain section of women have actually done. And also what I would say is that Educating a woman is educating the community. It will go hand in hand with electing a woman. You've just elected the solution to all the challenges that we are facing. Because I would not want to actually be a devil advocate in the whole system of gender issues. But what I would say is this: we need men need us, and it's not a matter of bitterness, it's a matter of we can actually work alongside men. We can also work together as a team to actually make sure our country is better. And women leadership is the most advanced. I would say it's the most advanced. Looking at the pandemic, the countries that are led by women, we've seen what happened in those countries. There's a lot of care. Women get a lot of attention to details. So let's guide our people and let's vie. And again, if you are within Kibra constituency, kindly I'm asking for your vote. Nipigie kura kama wewe ni wa Kibra, naomba kura yako. Na kama wewe si wa Kibra, naomba your blessings and naomba dua. When you make duas, prayers move mountains for the Christians. And also it does the same. We have a very small difference. It also does the same for us Muslims. So I'm praying for your support and your duas. And kindly, I need your vote. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hamida. Just before I hand over the question to someone else, maybe I can ask, have you experienced or have you had to take any legal steps? You already mentioned that you do, for your mental health, you do self-care and you do other things. Now, have you had to take any legal redress to address an experience you had that affected your mental health, or any social media, maybe abuse or anything?
Well, I've never taken any legal steps, but thank you to Evelyn. Hey, I've learned a lot in line with the defamation laws. Hey, so this time round, it will not be difficult to get into the corridors of the courts with this kind of issues, but I don't pray for it. But if at all it happens, this is actually a plus for us aspirants, because unajua kuna watu wenye tabia mbaya, if I'll use that, kuna watu wenye tabia mbaya, they don't know whether there are laws that safeguards the people. So this is a very informative issue, and I'm very glad that I've actually known. So I would use it also to actually enlighten others. Hey, we ukitukanwa sana. And also the liable issue, the issue of liable, is it liable or label? I did not get the word right, but it is also something that is new. This is what I've just learned today, that if something is printed, you can take it to the court of law as an evidence. And there is a lot that is happening currently. Kuna watu wanasema ukienda police station with a SMS, a text, sometimes you're taken through a lot, but thanks to this enlightenment in terms of the law.
All right, Amit, I'm happy to hear that you've not experienced bullying to that extent, or had your mental health affected to that extent during your political tenure and your aspirations. I'll throw this question to Evelyn. You have really enlightened us. Any other legal avenues that you would recommend that political and women aspirants can use to be able to take care of the problem when it becomes a mental health issue?
Please come again, Phoebe.
You mentioned a few steps that they can take with regard to dealing with the problems that they may experience, if it's cyberbullying or the libel or the defamation. and going to and filing in court. Sorry, I'm not going to the terms. Are there any other avenues, any other legal avenues they can take that you would recommend as well, especially to help them prevent experiencing the problems to the point they become a mental health disorder?
All right, thank you. So the word is, I'm going to start with the thanking Amida. I'm glad that what we are giving as crew is something that will be useful to you and other women aspirants. And the word is libel. So it's just L-I-B-E-L, libel. Now, are there other avenues that you can use? Of course, you could go through the ADR process. Not everything we want to do, we want to go through court. And if you feel like, if you reach out to this person, sometimes we want to be peacemakers, We want to be peacemakers. If this is someone that you think that you are able to talk to, and I don't mean you as a person, it could be you, including, that is your campaign team, because you have, I'm assuming, a communication expert, someone who's guiding you on that sector. So you get your communication expert, you get some people from your communication team to engage with these people. Some of them, if you engage them, then you'll be able to do an ADR and you're able to just take care of the matter as is. And that's why I had mentioned the fact of, maybe if it's something that is printed in a newspaper or a magazine, you just talk to the editor, you do a letter, you don't run to court immediately first. You talk to the editor, you tell them what you published or what one of your reporters has published in certain, on a certain day, certain time, is untrue. The facts are that I am not this, and that. So when you do that, the editor will probably just ensure that a new publication is put in apologizing, and that is part of ADR. It means you don't go to court. You've gotten the right information to the public, and they know where you stand depending on what had been published, but you've still gotten your justice. So you can look at that as an avenue of solving issues as well. And therefore, you don't necessarily need to go to court. But if need be, you are welcome to go and file a claim.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Evelyn. I'll jump next to Richard. What recommendations would you make with regard to addressing mental health during the election, and more so for the women aspirants?
Come again, Phoebe, in terms of communication?
What recommendations you make with regard to the women aspirants handling their mental health during the election period?
All right, recommendations. Thank you. For me, my message to the aspirants is that actually there's no health without mental health. So let them prioritize their mental health in as much as they're in a season where they are aiming towards achieving their political ambitions, and therefore I would urge them to be more aware of what is happening around them, so as to be able to manage it better before then it's too late. It is okay to take a break even in this political season, so as to be able to allow yourself function well mentally. So my recommendation would be that they should be able to engage on a routine check. They should be able to get to engage more in terms of what is happening with their own personal lives, in as much as the political public life is okay. And I think that will be key. So let them take priority, let them focus, let them pay all their attention towards their mental health in this period. And remember that there will be life to live after politics. That should not be forgotten, that there will be actually life to live after politics. So even as they pay attention, even as they pay their energies towards the political ambitions, let them also remember themselves. They come first, and they should be able to prioritize their mental health.
All right, Richard. Thank you so much for your input. Also very informative. We will jump in. I'm seeing we have a few questions coming in. We have one, not necessarily, and maybe I'll just address Calvin from Collaborative Center and Gender Development. He wanted to learn more about the challenges that the women aspirants face. I feel like Calvin, maybe that has already been. I'm hoping that you've gotten your answer, or that issue that you brought up has been addressed, because I believe this is what we have been discussing all through. There was one question from an anonymous attendee who asked, directing it to Hamida, how do people perceive you, considering that you're a woman aspirant, be it from, or you're in a political space, like your family, your friends, and generally the general population around you? How do they perceive you, and how does it feel? Maybe you can even tell us a bit more.
Okay, thank you. The perception is that there is support, and when I actually first communicated that I want to buy, there are those who actually supported the bid, and there are also those who are chipping in terms of support. So that actually gives me the motivation that the reception is good. And thanks also to the predecessors who are different elections. We've been trained so much on this journey with different well-seasoned politicians like Martha Karua, Lina Chebi-Kelimo, Charity Ngilu actually assisted us in the trainings. We have different constitutional professionals who actually took us through the political processes. So what I would say is that the community is very receptive, in line with my bid, to the level whereby the community and the Council of Elders actually gave me a nomination. So I have one nomination paper. So that is the first. So that actually tells that there is, they believe in my leadership and they believe in me at the same time. So that is what I'm facing, and also the teams, the women leaders, the different people that I usually engage with, they are actually supportive, and that actually shows that there's buy-in and there is trust in my leadership going forward. And family and friends too. Well, in the first election that I actually participated, I had a lot of issues with my last born child. There is that realization that somebody might think that when you're vying, your problem is your own individual problem. At times, it trickles down to the family members. Even to the extent it lightly. So family members comes in first, and we usually discuss issues. We discuss just to keep them abreast of what is happening, and also to get their support. At times, there are those who actually support fully. There are those who actually feel, ma'am, we just struggle, just do your part. You want to represent, okay, but then at least this time round on mental health issues, I'll not have a challenge, because previously I did not know how to approach it well. So I found my last born actually fighting around. Aliambiwa, mama yako alipata kura 20 tu. So he was very annoyed. He was trying to be protective, and actually haikuwa 20 ilikuwa sijui ngapi, wewe wacha hizo, you know, such stuff. So they engaged in a fight. So that one actually made me realize that everybody is getting affected with the whole process. So this time round, I believe I will have a very emotional, mature children and emotionally matured husband who will support me fully and be part of the process all through. But it also happens. So as aspirants who are listening in, let us see how best to take care of our families and the extended families, and also factor in their security. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Hamida. Thank you. It's good to hear you come and express that you have the support of your family. You also have the support of even your community and the elders. That is such a good thing to see, showing the advocacy that has been done by organizations like CRU as well, supporting women in leadership has not been in vain. We have also been able to create awareness. This has also contributed to it. And I'm happy to hear that there's no negative experience or feelings or perceptions that you have experienced. Maybe as we slowly come to a close of this session, which has been very informative, I'll ask each panelist to give us a parting shot, and then we can maybe we can start with you, Evelyn.
Yeah. Yes. So my parting shot is this. Women generally have gone through harassment in their political process, and we have several women as examples. We have, you know, the likes of Orierogo Banduli, which is, you know, some few years back, may she rest in peace. She actually underwent assault that was actually grievous bodily harm, and that made her not vie because of that particular fact. We also have other people like Millie Odhiambo recently in 2017, where her house was burned down when it was learned that she has won the ODM ticket to vie for wherever she was vying. We have Esther Passaris, who also, you know, had the crowd demanding for monies from her, and she had to seek police intervention. And therefore, it is tried. There are several examples of women undergoing violence, harassment that will, you know, result in mental anguish or, you know, mental health issues because of this, and all this through the political process. And therefore, it is important that our women understand what avenues they can use to, you know, take care of their mental health through the counseling side, through the medical side, but also to take care of their mental health through litigation or through, you know, seeking redress in a court of law, because we need something that is all-rounded. What can be done? That is the question. We have countries like Bolivia, which is a good example. This is not in Africa, unfortunately, who have criminalized. They have a legislation which has criminalized violence against women in the political process outright. It is specifically for women in the political process. And therefore, I believe that if we could get something of that sort for the African or the Kenyan context, as you know, as we are talking about right now, then it would even help women more. I know there are various avenues that, as I've highlighted in this webinar. However, if we had a specific thing that specifically targets women in the political process, I believe that would be better. And now people like Hamida, I wish you well. I hope you get the seat that you're aspiring for. When you get there, you are the people who are in charge of passing these laws. Have these bills drafted, agitate, so that other women who are coming after you have an easier route of, you know, accessing the leadership position, of making their voices heard. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Evelyn. Hamida, maybe we can go to you and you can give us your parting shot.
My parting shot is that thank you for this webinar. I've learned a lot, and I'll put into use. And it's my hope that we will have these conversations more, because of other women also, just to reach out. And thanks to the organizers of this. And I believe you're in Kibra, the headquarters is in Kibra. I'm getting your vote. Kura kwa mama mazingira. By the way, the climate change issue is with us. And my policy mostly is on climate change issues, how it affects our education, how it affects our livelihoods. And my party is NC Kenya Kwanza, Uchumi Bora, pesa mfukoni. But if we don't address the issue of climate change, hiyo pesa haitafika mfukoni, because we have less food by the end of the day and a lot of taxes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Hamida, for that. Richard, maybe you could also give us your parting shot as we.
Thank you, Phoebe. To Hamida and to all the female aspirants, I want to wish you well. I really want to wish you well. The voice of a woman in the society and the community is a big voice. It's a very big voice, and I just want to urge you on that you may succeed, because then we know when women succeed, then the community and the entire nation has succeeded. Mine is to encourage you and to all the aspirants to really remember to take care of your mental health, because then without it, even that ambition, you will not succeed with it. We need a mentally fit Hamida in our next parliament, and we need more mentally fit women aspirants in our next parliament. And we hope that as you get to parliament, you can lobby more, you can advocate more for mental wellness support, and especially to women in vulnerable places, like you want to represent Kibera. So I hope that when you get there, you can even advocate for more mental wellness support, so as to be able to bring up a holistic society. Otherwise, I wish you all the best. I'm sure maybe next time we interact, I'll be talking to a Mweshimiwa. So all the best. And thank you so much, crew, for this webinar. It was informative as well. Looking forward for more interactions with you. Asante. God bless.
Okay, thank you so much, Richard. I'll take this opportunity to thank you, all my panelists. Thank you very much, Hamida, for your input and for allowing us to have a glimpse into what you have been experiencing before and what you're experiencing during this political season, campaign season, election as well. We wish you the best. And like I said, I hope the next time it will be from Mweshimiwa. And to Lynn, thank you so much for your input as well on the legal aspect of it. I'm sure our women aspirants and women out there generally have learned a lot. They now know what steps they can take when they are grieved in specific ways. If they experience any form of abuse, whether it's physical, they have steps to take. Richard, thank you so much for coming in with the psychological aspects and giving us information and allowing our women aspirants and all the women who are listening to this and everyone else to know that there are steps they can take to take care of their mental health so that it does not escalate to the point of it becomes a disorder. Really appreciate, and we've also learned a lot from you. I'll take this chance to welcome every woman aspirant to reach out to crew. They can also get support from the legal side and the psychological side as well. We do have a toll-free that they can reach out through, and the number is 0800 720 186. You can reach us on a toll-free number. You can call that number and talk to a lawyer. You can call that number to talk to a counselor as well and get assistance, whether it's with regard to your mental health or to the legal aspect and issues you might be experiencing. And I'll repeat the number again. It is 0800 720-186. You can also visit our offices at shared there. You can visit our offices. We are in Kibera, around DC's office. You can also call that number to get directions. We wish you the best, Hamida. Thank you so much, all of you, for participating through the session. And as we can conclude and say that definitely women aspirants' mental health is affected when they are vying for political parties and political seats, rather. It is definitely affected because they do experience a lot of emotions, they do experience a lot of challenges, like the financial ones, the psychological challenges as well. And we are grateful that there are things that they can do and the steps that they can take to take care of their mental health and to even prevent it from escalating. I hope this has been an informative session that you have all learned as much as I have. And I really appreciate the audience as well for attending and being part of the discussion. Thank you also for the attendees who dropped in your questions. I hope they have been addressed and you are satisfied with the answers that we have given you. Thank you so much, and we come to the end of the session. We really appreciate it.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you and bye.
All right, bye.